All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 ways to evaluate slope on Land Portal. If you are looking to potentially buy land or flip land or invest in land, you need to understand how to evaluate slope and the potential of the land. So let's get to it. All right, so here we are on Land Portal, and we're going to zoom into this property, Northern Georgia. Northern Georgia is a sloped area. There's obviously other areas of the country that are really sloped. Northern Georgia has some really good examples. So let's zoom in to this property on Land Portal and evaluate the slope in these 3 ways that I'm talking about. So first, let's just click into the property and see what is going on with the property. So you'll get the property information, everything like that. But the first way, and this is the old-fashioned way of evaluating slope, there weren't as many tools like this. The first way to evaluate slope is by pulling up the map filters in the bottom right and hitting what is called contour lines. And what contour lines do, it essentially shows you the elevation of the land in different areas. So it's either going to be increasing, decreasing, staying flat, whatever. It's going to give us some insight onto that. So this is number one way, the first way, not the number one way of looking at slope on Land Portal. So you're going to hit contour lines, and you're going to see some lines pop up. So on here, it's like, okay, there's no elevation here according to the contour lines. Then you can see here, it goes from 1760 to 1780. So based on these, now you want to find what the lines are doing. And here's 1740 right here. So this line running up here, according to the contour lines, are 1740. And the important thing when you're evaluating slope is like, you don't want to look at this and be like, okay, this whole area is flat, I'm good to go, no worries at all. You want to use the different tools, but based on this, the contour lines and the contour lines only at this point, like, okay, this looks like a pretty big area that appears to be flat. Like it goes from 1740 right here on my mouse to 1760 over here, and then 1780. This is not a big jump from 1740. Back here will be pretty sloped based on the contour lines. So this is basically showing the elevation. And you can look around and see like, okay, the more severe properties, according to contour lines, like you can see this very quickly, this goes up. But yeah, you can see, so like this is probably about 100 feet between these two lines. If you wanted to get out the measuring tool, you can measure and see exactly. But again, we want to get to the other tools as well. This is a good first step. So my initial thoughts on this property, and that might change as we go through the different slope evaluation tools. My initial thoughts on this property is like, we're pretty flat here. We should be good to build a house. You can see like this is 6.5 acres. This isn't an area where theoretically we'd be building something like that, maybe subdividing it down the middle. So you want to evaluate it for different opportunity as well, but you want to make sure it's a buildable lot. That is what we're trying to do in this video. And I would say based on contour lines, we're probably good here. So number one way is contour lines. The number two way is 3D. You can see in the bottom right, and this does not make 3D. I want to be clear, this does not make 3D based on the contour lines. This is separate in terms of that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take off our contour lines and I'm going to click 3D here. I'm going to give it a second to render. And this already, so if we kind of zoom around here, look what's going on. This already, it does look relatively flat in this area. I think the flat area, let me turn on the contour lines, and you want to use the tools together for sure. Just seen like there's definitely in this area that the contour line said was flat, there is definitely some elevation change. You can also see elevation change what appears to be off the road, it kind of dropping back off of the road. So yeah, the second way is slow, or is the 3D, and you want to look around kind of seeing what is going on. 3D, I still think we do have buildable area. Tool number 3 is going to help us put everything together. This area where my red dot is, it looks really good right now, but there is more slope than we realized from the contour lines. You can see over here, it's almost like a fall off from here to here. And I think we have some fall off from the road as well. We can zoom in a little bit. I don't know if that's going to help. But yeah, I think we have much more slope than we realized initially from the contour lines. And again, I do think that red, I still think this is going to be a buildable lot, and that red dot area is a good area to build. All right, so number one, contour lines. Number two is using the 3D map. Before we move on, number three for the slope evaluator is something you can only get on Land Portal. If you want to start a free trial, we have a link in the description to start a free trial, 7-day free trial for our starter plan, or you can scan the QR code and get started. Let's get back to the video. All right, so moving on to number three. And like I said, number three is a proprietary slope evaluator for Land Portal. And what it does is essentially looks at every small spot of the land. It's an AI algorithm and tries to determine buildability essentially. And what it's looking for, it's not just saying like, yes, it's buildable. No, it's not buildable. It's looking for what we call clusters of buildability. So what we're going to see when we pull this up, if it is buildable land, we're going to see circles of certain colors, and those are going to be clusters of buildable areas. So one way to do this is go up to the top and hit reports and pull up AI slope report. And I'm gonna hit send request there. That's gonna take a minute to generate. But while we're doing that, I wanna scroll down to some of the data within here. All right, so what I wanna show on this parcel, again, I wanna show the AI buildability. And we're gonna scroll down on this property card as the slope report is being downloaded. And we're gonna scroll down to this area where it says slope analysis. And you can see these first two are from the AI report. So this is actually telling you what the AI report is going to come. The AI report is just going to give us a lot more details. So it's saying it believes 1.12, which is 20% of the land, is buildable. And then we also have the slope average, which is the average slope of the land. Above 15 gets really extreme. You can see 15 plus slope percent is really extreme based on this. This is different than all this. So do not like try to lump these two things in. This is just saying parts of the land. So it's saying 62% is above 15% grade, 19% 10 to 15, 5 to 10 is 15%, and so on. But these are the grades of the land, okay? So these percentages are different than what this is. We want to focus on this buildability percentage in this video. So I'm gonna hit show buildability, and this is gonna actually show the clusters on the land. So we're gonna hit show buildability, and we can see 4 clusters came up. And you can see this one's a little bigger than the other ones. The key here is, guys, clusters are what's in between the clusters is what the software is, what the AI is saying is not buildable. What's outside of the cluster. So yeah, for this one, maybe you could figure out and like have a building spot on this entire thing. There's so little space in between, but I'm not sure. And you zoom in, you can actually see an old structure. I don't know if you guys can see that old structure here and an old structure here, but I'm very, very interested because this is definitely our biggest buildable spot that it's saying. I'm very interested in finding out more about this cluster, and that is what the slope report is going to tell us. So let's go over here and let's just go to slope reports, and we're going to pull up this slope report and find out some more information on these clusters and on this land in general. Let's hit view. So you can either view it within the software or you can download it. We'll just do it within the software. Anytime you want to, you can rename it. Like maybe you want to do whatever, Northern Georgia buildable land, whatever it is. You can hit show on map, which is going to pull up the map, download PDF, anything like that. But let's scroll down. So this is a lot of the information that we got already from the property card. This is not anything new. You can see the information land. Here we start having these graphics, which all tell us something different. So starting out, we have this terrain elevation, which essentially, remember the contour lines, how far apart they were, how kind of little detail we got. This is basically any color change, and it can be the severity of a green. Any color change is showing us slope elevation change. The darker it is, the dark blue as it goes to blue, it is lower elevation. As it gets closer to this white up here, we have the highest elevation right here. So keep scrolling down. So here we have the terrain and how it's classified with the slope. So you can see a lot of this land, as we already knew, but we didn't know how it was, like what parts were the 15% slope. You can see a lot of this land is really sloped. And remember this area right here, we thought all of this area was flat from the contour lines. This is so much more detail and telling us which areas of land are sloped. So now it's going to talk about these clusters and look into these clusters. So we already saw this when we hit show buildability, But what this is going to do is, and it actually found another cluster when we pulled up this slope report, which is cool. So the slope report gave us a little more information than what the and that's what the slope report does. It generates in real time. That's why we have to wait a minute for it to pull up. So it actually found an additional cluster on here as well. As we scroll down, I really want to look in. This is the cluster I really want to look into. And what it's going to do on each cluster is essentially tell us information just on that cluster. So here we have cluster number 1, which is the biggest cluster. You can see this is 0.61 acres. Okay, 0.61 acres. Percentage of flat area 21%. But now we can actually see the imagery on this land, see what it looks like overlaid on these different maps. For me, this is a key buildable area. These are key things. When you think you have a buildable area, and what you do down the line when you get, maybe you go out there in person, maybe you send a realtor out there in person, maybe you get a drone photographer out there in person, you really want them to narrow down. If you're trying to find out, because this isn't the last step, guys. The last step is getting someone in person to evaluate the land. And you can see here, you're going to tell the drone photographer, like, I really want to make sure this is flat enough to build. And they'll probably say, like, it's a beautiful ledge. It's a beautiful spot to put a house, because I think that's what this is going to be. And as you scroll down, you can see how it's overlaid. Like, there are parts of this cluster that are relatively sloped, but it thinks a combination of all this makes it a buildable piece of land. And again, you see this overlaid on the different things. But what you should do when you're looking at this, one, the key is, do you have a cluster big enough to build on? 0.61 acres, you usually want about a half an acre. 0.4 acres, I think, is 0.25 acres is enough. Like, if you have a cluster that size, you can usually make something happen. Maybe it needs a little bit of dirt work, but for this, like, if this is what it says it is, which I believe it is, this is going to be just fine in terms of buildability. As we scroll down, we're just going to go through these other clusters relatively fast. We do still have another 0.31 cluster that looks very, very flat, very, very buildable here. Low slope percentage. And this is you can see there's no orange in this one, which is cool. There's no orange here. So this is definitely an option in terms of this cluster for buildability. Here's the one we didn't see initially. Very small. I don't think much is going to happen with this. You can maybe put a barn. You can maybe throw something on there, maybe a mobile home if there's enough room, but not a ton to go off there. And scrolling down, we'll go to cluster 4 here. Again, another very small cluster. And as we overlay it, again, this does not have any orange on it. This does not have any of the extreme slope on this parcel. Overall, I believe this piece of land is going to be very buildable in terms of that. We have a really, really good cluster, which is, I believe this is a cluster that's close. And when you look at it, you're like, okay, how much is it going to cost to build? Do whatever, is there dirt work, driveway distance? And this is going to be relatively cheap to get a driveway back there, put a mobile home, whatever that looks like. So again, breaking down 3 ways of evaluating slope on Land Portal. Number 1 is contour lines. This is what we always use, contour lines. It's always going to be the first tool. Number 2, 3D. Okay, how does 3D look relative to contour lines? And finally, number 3 is the AI built into Land Portal. Again, if you have not already signed up for Land Portal, there's a free 7-day trial in the description below. You can scan the QR code right here to get started. Hit the subscribe button. We have more videos coming. We'll see you guys next time.